Okay, we're going to do a little bit of a class here this morning. I'm in that kind of realm where mindset of teaching. That's what I was supposed to do today. And I kind of still want to do it. So we're going to do it. We're going to get this shared. As soon as everything loads and quits being cantankerous. Okay. We'll get back over here and try and see about getting that a little bit. We can get that a little clearer here. That's pretty clear. That's pretty good. Okay, so let's go start Fred here. Get Fred started. Okay, so intro to blacksmithing is a lot of hammer control. And let me get this back over here. Not so close right yet. Better camera angle here. So a lot of it comes down to, well, most of it, when you come take a class from me in person, it is all about hammer control, hammer technique. You see a lot of guys with a hammer out here like that. Um, they get this motion going on. I try and I teach to keep your elbow tucked in and to come down like that, and you give there's a snap. It's a wrist action, right? It's all in the wrist. Now, we're going to take some of this stock here, and I'm going to cut it approximately in half, right about there, up there on my bandsaw, and I'm going to cut one of these other pieces approximately in half. So I'll be right back. Now, realistically, only reason I teach this class like the way I teach it is because I hurt myself, and I had to find a way to swing a hammer that wasn't going to re-injure my everything. And so we'll go and this. So this is why I teach it the way I teach it. Okay. So we have our pieces here. One of these is, let's get our little measure out here to find out just how long it is. So we have one piece here that is 25 inches long, another one that is 12 and a quarter inches long, and one that is 10 and an eighth long. The 10 and an eighth will be our bottle opener. The 12 and a quarter will be our double hook and the 25-inch long will be our stake turner. This is 3/8 diameter round stock, and we're going to start out with the long one for our stake turner. So we're going to stick the piece in the forge, and the first technique we're going to teach you is drawing a point. Now, you're not in my shop at the moment, so I can't really speak to correcting your elbow and the way you swing a hammer. So just concentrate on keeping the elbow in and coming down and back. And if you're having a hard time, right, and don't put your thumb here, put your thumb here. If you're having a hard time keeping your thumb down, slide it to the side of the hammer, not over the top. That way that jarring comes back past your thumb and not into your thumb and up through your elbow and into your shoulder and into your neck, and you have really bad issues, injury issues at that point. So keep your elbow in, and if you're coming down here, if you're having a hard time getting a smack on it, shrug your shoulder a little bit. Just watch what this does when I just shrug my shoulder just a little bit. See that little bit of movement? If you're having a hard time, if you're coming down hard like that, because you're not snapping down through, lift and then let your hand carry over. Let your wrist break over. So it's that motion right there. So when we get, let's zoom out here a little bit. So when you're standing here at your anvil and you're hammering at your anvil and you're coming down, boom, don't try and stop it. Let that wrist break over. And if you're having a hard time prepping that wrist break over, shrug your shoulder just a little bit, which picks it up and it moves your elbow back. So just by picking your shoulder up, it moves the position of where your elbow, that rotation, higher, which allows you more room to let your wrist break over, and you have a much more powerful swing. All right. The biggest thing is you just got to practice, 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 practice. As my dogs are opening up the shop to the sunlight. But when in doubt, elbow in. Don't allow it to get out here. Don't have your thumb up on the back of your hammer. Drop your thumb to the side or curl it around. Those are the two main things that I want you to work on: is thumb and elbow in. Come down and swing. Pick it up. Boom, boom. So, right. Also, another big one here is we're not shoveling anything, and we're not raking anything. All that does nothing, right? It does nothing at all for working the metal. You're just wasting energy, wasting time, and wasting power. If you want it to go a certain way, you need to let loose the hammer a little bit, and you angle it. You angle your hammer. This does nothing. This does nothing. So straight down power, boom, you can careen it off, right? All right. First step when drawing a point, we square it up. You hit it really hard. Flat, boom, turn it, quarter turn, hit it hard. Quarter turn, hit it. Turn, hit it, turn. 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 Over and over again. Let it do the work. As it gets smaller, not as powerful hits. Now, you probably won't get it in one heat, but if you do, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a hand. Now it's just cleanup. Now we're going to clean that up. Now, that's the point. Now, we're going to take it from square. So when we're on the next heat, we're going to come out and we're going to flatten our corners. You're not going to swing full power. You're probably going to go maybe half or quarter power to flatten those corners. I would start out using a quarter swing. So from here, boom, or a half swing. Don't try and control your hammer either. Just let it fall. Let it fall. So you can see that the hammer bounces in an elliptical pattern or rebounds in an elliptical pattern. Your job is to, and it's only when you're hitting soft steel, that rebound is only like maybe 3/16 of an inch tall. But your job is still to pick that up at its apex. So before it starts to fall, carry that momentum up, let it drop again, pick it up, carry, let it drop, pick it up, carry. That is a hammer swing right there. Because then if you try and muscle it, you're never going to hit the same spot twice. Hammer control is about technique. It's about you just being that stabilization, boom, to hit. It's not the hammer that can't hit the same spot. It's you. Okay, we're going to go up on the corners. Boom. Quarter turn. And then you just start walking it around. Start blending the taper back up into the main shaft. I'm just doing quarter blows right now, planishing blows. Okay, you talked about hammer. Before we go back to the fours, let's talk about your offhand, your control hand. So you have a smart hand, which is my right hand, and a dumb hand, which is my hammer hand. The smart hand controls elevation, pitch, yaw, whatever you want to call it. It does everything. It moves. Now, this hand, your hammer hand, has to be a little bit smart because to get this taper to work out, I'm lifting with my offhand and tilting out with my hammer hand. I'm pushing the face towards me. So I'm opening up that face towards me. If I was wanting to come in another way, I'd open up the face away from me. Right? That makes sense? And then this is just a table, right? These two fingers, your thumb and your pointing finger, are what does all the work. Same thing here in the hammer. These, your thumb and your pointer finger, are the only true grip when you hold a hammer. The other ones are just for stabilization. Okay, we're going to do one more heat on that, get it all drawn out. Now we're going to square this up as well in the middle, put a nice twist in it. And I'm gonna do this all with my 3-pound hammer. Now, normally what I would do is as I would get smaller and smaller in my piece, like towards the tip, I'd get a smaller hammer. Less mistakes happen. Don't need it real hot. I'm going to start walking off my tip, back up the shaft. A little bit harder, slower blows. Really want to contour that taper back into the main body of the shaft. And there it is. Okay, we're gonna cool this down in our slack tank. That's a good looking tip there. Now we're gonna go work on the other side. Now this is a little bit different. We wanna flatten this out into a finger catch or a thumb rest. We want to widen it into a teardrop or into a raindrop look. And so you hit it hard, boom, and you continue to hit it hard on that one side. Flipping it, if you're going to flip it, you flip it a complete half turn. So before it was hard quarter turn, hard quarter turn, hard quarter turn, hard quarter turn, slightly less hard, and continue turning that on into, you have a square point, right? Then we came back, did a probably half to quarter blow on the corners to make it to an octagon, quarter turn, and then we did just a continuous turn with light rabbit hits, quarter blows, to then make it round. So you went from round to square to octagon to round. And that is the process of drawing a point. It's just super quick. Everybody does it that way. It may look like they're foregoing some steps, but that's exactly what they're doing. They're going from round, if they're using round stock, they're going from round to square to octagon to round. And you just repeat that until you have the desired taper. Okay. Now we're making our handle in, come down hard, half turn, and then it just comes down to what you like. I like a nice symmetrical or close to symmetrical, so I'm going to continue hammering this down until I get the look I want. Nice teardrop finger catch. Now if you have some owl ears sticking up from where the hard edges were, you can take those down. But there's the finger catch. All right. So right now we have our business end with our point, the finger catch on our handle. Now we're going to come in here and square this up inside here to then put a twist in it. I'm going to cool it. Once again, I'm going to my slack tank, cooling this down. We're going to stick our piece in the forge, and we're going to go from the point. You need about 3 inches to do the business end of your stake turner from the sharp point back. I'm going to come off of that 3 inches, another 7 inches. So 10 inches from my point back into my shaft is where I'm going to start squaring up. And I'm going to square up about 3 to 4 inches of space. So you're talking about 14 inches from point. Between 10 and 14 is where you're going to have your squared portion. So you can put a decorative twist in it. Now you may need to go to a pair of tongs at this point. And I suggest getting a pair of groove tongs. These are what's called wolf jaws, because they have different forged in grooves in them. But we're going to be using that center groove. A pair of groove flat jaws works really well. And we're going to use the same technique we used to get our point, but we're not drawing a taper. We're just going to flat spot, right? And I think I'm going to do an octagon. So I'm going to flat spot, not heavy blows, and I'm going to do an eighth of a turn, flat spot, an eighth of a turn, flat spot, an eighth of a turn, flat spot. So this is a 6-inch face. So we're going to start right about in here. Quarter, 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 quarter. So you start seeing your flat spots. Now my hammer face is about 2 inches wide, so I'm going a little bit larger than a hammer face, because I'll blend all that stuff back in, and it doesn't have to be crisp. You're just trying to make hard edges in there, so it'll show up, the twist will show up. Now, if you're in a cold forge, you can get away without using tongs at all, because you're only heating the space that you absolutely need to use. But in a gas forge, you're heating everything. We're just going to continue to work that spot. And it may take a few heats for you to be able to see your flat spots. Like I said, you're just trying to make small changes to that surface of your piece so that your twist will show up. Now we're just going to take and straighten everything out. Now you can't really see it there. You can see a little bit. That's all we need. So I'm going to stick that in there. We're going to come over here to our vise. And then we're going to put this in our vise and twist it up. Now I'm going to use my tongs and just grabbing to the wide spot that we made, and I'm going to make our twist. Or it's just kind of hot on my arm. Or if you have a pair of pliers, you can do the same thing. It's just a subtle twist. That's all it is. Just a subtle one. Now, I'm going to stick it in there, but heat it back up. If you have a piece of wood, or if you have a leather mallet, or something like that, I use a piece of wood. I was using a piece of wood until I got a leather mallet. Or a rawhide mallet. Whatever. We're going to take and straighten out the shaft with our piece here. You're just going to pop it over just about like that. Making a stake turner. It's a very subtle change in the steel with this twist. Real delicate twist. Just enough of decoration. And you can make them super thick. You can't really see it with the heat on it, but you can make them super pronounced. You can make them super tight. I kind of like them just subtle, especially with the octagon twist. It's really nice. Okay, so there's that. Let's see if we can get a look at it. No, we won't be able to look at it. I'll take pictures. I'll show you. Trust me, you'll be able to see it. And then we brush it up and clean it. Okay. Now we're going back to the handle, so I'm going to cool off my tip in the slack tank again. We're sticking our handle in there, and at this point, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which way you do this, but we're going to come out, and we're going to come onto the horn here. Let me get this so you guys can see what I'm talking about. We're going to pull it out. We're going to come over to the horn here, drop it, and I'm going to hit it, pop, just like that, and it's going to bend itself around that horn. And this is going to dictate, left or right. We'll talk about a left or right stake turner as soon as we get our handle in. Oh, almost forgot one step. We're going to take and preset our thumb or our finger catch first. And how you do that, you just bring that over top of the anvil and hammer it away from you. And then we flip it over so that curl is pointed up and come down, because it has to go from pointed up around to point down. That'll make total sense here in a minute. So we got our finger catch nice and heated up. We're just going to take it and hammer it around our horn until we have the desired look we're going for, and curl and tightness. And you can even come in here, turn it upright, and hammer it in and start walking it up on itself, because you can always take that back out if it's too much. Okay, now, next heat, we're going to come in here and we're going to hit it. Boom, just like that. Doesn't take a lot of heat. You don't have to have it like the surface of the sun. All of this that I'm showing you is basic blacksmithing skills that build upon hammer control, hammer technique. Plus, if you're looking at to make this a hobby business, These are good little pieces that you can sell to to help your business make a little bit of money. So we're going to hammer that all the way down, and then we're going to come back and hammer in to our piece there. Make sure everything lines up well. And then there's your handle. And your twist is right here. And the next portion of this is going to be, now I'm just basically doing some shaping here, making sure everything's straight, tightening it up. I want it kind of touching on there. I'm going to put it in my slack tank to cool it down. This is mild steel, so it doesn't hurt it. It's just water. So there is my piece. Now, I'm left-handed, but I make right-handed turners because that most everybody is right-handed. So how do you do that? Well, first thing you do is you're going to figure out, this is how I want to hold it, right? Well, the turner needs to be able to pick it up and let it go. Pick it up, let it go. So our hook needs to be pointed to our right. So to make a right-handed hook, we're going to use our handle. Excuse me. We're going to use our handle, and we're going to quarter turn that so that our hand, if our hand, look at our handle this way, and you see the catch there, you're going to turn it to where this catch is pointed to the left, right? And you're going to go about, you're going to use up about 1.5 inches of steel just for the hook. You want that hook to come out and go around and then be parallel with the shaft. The point, if you drew a line from that point, it'd be an infinite line that paralleled the shaft of your main piece. These are the same hammer techniques that you use to make a knife, some hammers, tongs. You just have to make more of them. Now, I'm going to come in, I'm going to hammer towards me. Come in, make sure everything is good and straight. I need to open up that down. If I need to drop my point down, I lift up. If I need to open it up, I drop it down and hit on the back. All right. So if I close this down like that, I need to open that up. I'm going to drop it down, hit right there until we get a point that is parallel with our piece. Now, this isn't the best type of horn to do this on. A lot of times you'd want to have a mandrel or something because it's really flat, but it gets the job done. And if it's not completely square, don't worry about it. We'll fix that. If it's not, see how it's kind of pointed off plane, right? Not a big deal. All we do is we heat that up, put it in our vise, straighten it out, which is what we're going to do right now. Okay. We have our plane. We're going to stick it in the vise. We want to make sure that everything lines up well. It doesn't need much. Just a small turn there. Put it back in our well, after that you put it back in your forge. But the last step is we're coming over here. We're hanging just enough off of the anvil where our point is for it to, the tip is still touching the side of our anvil. And you're going to come down while it's hot. You can do it cold if you want to. Come down while it's hot, and you're going to put a 90-degree bend in it. Doesn't have to be super warm. Just enough heat. So it's touching. I'm going to make sure everything's square. I'm going to come down. I'm going to hammer it against the anvil. Now your tip may deform, which mine did a little bit, but that's okay. You didn't stand it up. And you flat spot them down. And you can come in here more, and you can knock this down, make it sure it's flat. Keep playing around with these angles here. Keep coming back to the top. Now, look at that, a little bit off. No big deal. Why? Because we heat that shaft up and twist it. Making sure that this hook ends up on top. We're going to put it in our vise with the hook, either left or right, doesn't matter, however you do it. The shaft coming into our vise with the hook on the outside, and we're going to turn our handle. Now, at this point, you might want to go back to the pair of tongs. I'm going to go back to the pair of tongs because it's going to be hot. Make sure the hook is upright, and then you turn your handle whichever way you need to do to straighten it. That way, you're not fighting it. And that, my friends, is how you make a stake turner. That's a quick, down and dirty stake turner. And it will do its job. It'll pick up, so how you use it, it stabs the steak, boom, picks it up, takes it out, lays it over, flips it over. Boom, boom. It's this right here. That's it. Stake turner. Okay, now we're going to build upon what we learned from the stake turner, and this one is all tongs. You're going to need a pair of tongs. Once again, the groove tongs. This is our 10 1/8 piece of steel. Both of these ends get drawn down. So, you do the same technique on the bottle opener as you do the stake turner, right? Except for the pointed end is now your handle, and the flattened end is the opener. So we're going to draw a point. Remember, taking it from round to square, from square to octagon, from octagon to round. And we're going to do this in as few heats as possible. Won't do it in one. We'll save the last one to do it in one. Now this is the front opening bottle opener, so it's going to have a front clip on it like that, like a hook that comes over the front and opens this way. Okay, remember, square. We're going to do square and octagon in this heat right here. Hard, turn, turn. I go back and forth between two sides. But it's still a quarter turn. Okay, now octagon. Back to the fire. So that was square and octagon in one heat, and it was just this. The tongs was just boom, 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 boom. Quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn. Then that last finish was a complete turn, 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 360 degrees, but with quarter increments. Okay, now we're going to pull it back out. And we're just going to walk our hammer out to the point, turning our tongs slowly, rounding it off. This is what's called drawing down and out, because we're coming down and out. Or drawing a taper, drawing a point. Okay, let's flip it over. Now we're going to make our opener in. Now this is 3/8. So when you flat spot it, you need to flatten it, hard hit, turn it up on the edge, quarter hit. When this is done, it should look like a flat tip screwdriver tip point, but no wider than the size of the parent material. So if you're using 1/4 inch, then it's 1/4 inch wide flat. 3/8, excuse me, a 3/8 wide flat. And you don't need a lot of heat because you're hitting it hard enough to build heat within the material. So it'll actually get hotter when you hit it. Take it down, hard hit, take it down, full hard hit, quarter blow, hard hit, quarter blow, back and forth. And you don't want to move it to the other side. Keep one side with a decided step taper down and the other side flat. But no thinner, no widthwise or bigger than 3/8. You can have it thinner widthwise than 3/8, but no bigger. Once again, the only reason for that is personal preference and hammer control. Okay, with a little bit of heat left in it, we're going to move it right to the edge of the anvil, and we're going to come down hard. We want a thin lip that will pick up the edge of that bottle top, that bottle cap. You want it really thin. Talking probably a 64th of an inch. So now we have a drawn tapered point and still a taper, a drawn flat taper with a thin edge. The thin edge, now it has a angled taper on one side, right? This is the top of your bottle opener. The flat side that was against the anvil is the bottom side, the inside of your hook when we put it on there. So we're going to come in here, and we're going to work on our tail. All right. So we want to take and bend this around and do a wrap. We want to wrap this tail around the main shaft. You're probably going to take about half of this. All right. And you can do a loose wrap, a messy wrap, a snake tail wrap, whatever, a tight wrap, so there's just a ball back here. Doesn't matter. Make sure you're doing a wrap and not a twist. You're wrapping this around the shaft. You're not twisting the two together. And you're going to want it relatively warm, not heat in it. Now, I'm not going to use any special tool to do this. What I will end up using, my wrap, is my tongs, these groove flat jaws, and a vise. Once we get it down and there's an eye, so you're going to end up with an eye, because what you're going to do is you're going to bend it, make a little eye, and you're going to come 90 degrees across. That'll make sense here in the middle of it. Okay, we're pretty hot. I know which side's my top. Boom. I come over here. I need to do it over the horn, which I will. I'm going to bypass everything, and I'm going to start making something that looks like that. All right. Now I'm going to stick this in my hardy hole and hammer it to where it. Once again, stick it in my hardy hole. Don't really care if it's straight right now. We'll fix that. Not a big deal. Want a little bit more, a little bit smaller eye on it. Put it in the hardy hole, straighten everything out. Okay, next heat, we're going to go over to the vise. We're going to stick this in the vise just like that. We're going to wrap that tail around this shaft. Probably gonna end up doing a tight wrap on it. It'll fit really nice in the hand. Will also be very nice for anybody who has small hands. They'll feel like they have a really good grip on it. Okay, there we go. You're going to want to do this hot, so it's going to be multiple times we do this. Probably put this over here just because I have a feeling I'm going to be crossing in front of it like this. Much easier for you to see. I'll block out the sun behind us here. And I still not really caring about the alignment. Right? I'm going to pick this up a little bit here. I'm going to come on this side with those grooves, and we're just going to walk around the shaft with this. We're going to twist that onto itself. And we didn't need a bunch of heats, so that's good. And you get this perfect snake tail twist. We need one more heat or snake tail wrap on there. And a perfectly straight shaft in the middle. So it's actually wrapped around that shaft, not twisted together. Now you could do the same thing with a hammer. It just doesn't come out as pretty. I just wanted to lay that up on there. Let's go quench this off in our slack tape. Take a look at it. And this is what's called a snake tail wrap. It's not a twist. It's a wrap. We're wrapping the tail around the shaft. Okay, now it's got a little bit off center. Not a big deal because once again, heat it up, stick it in our vise, center it up. But I'm not going to worry about that until we put our curl in it. So how do we do our curl? On this anvil, it's kind of difficult because it's so wide, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to the Hercules instead, which has a much thinner horn on it, pointed horn. It's going to allow us a lot better control when it comes to forming this next part of the project. Now, hopefully you guys can see that pretty well. This horn here. Now she's all tacked to the ground, so let's see if we can get a little better picture there. You guys see that okay? Anybody watching, just let me know. think you can. So we're going to come over here just like this, right? And we're going to walk this around that horn. All right? And then the only time we're going to switch hammers is during this stage right now. We're going to stick that in there. Let it heat up. Now what you're making here, when you put that crook in there, is a 3/4 circle. You're going 3/4 of the way around and stopping. Probably, if you actually measured it out, probably 7/8 of the way around, but close enough. Remember, we're going to bring that out right here and come around the horn. Now, if you have one of the 66-pound Amazon anvils, those are a lot better suited for this because it has a really tapered horn. Very, very nice horn. Now, you want the eye pointed at the ground for this. And we're not worrying about alignment right now. We'll align it here in a little bit. Now I'm going to use a 1 pound, actually I think this is a 14-ounce ball peen for this. And I'm going to wrap this around I'm going to walk it in on itself. I'm going to curl it up on itself. So that it looks, oh, that's probably better right there. Something like that, all right? Then I'm going to take it, slip it over the horn, take the ball peen, I'm going to hit right behind that eye and put a bend in it. So it looks like that. And this is done. That'll open a bottle right there. And it's straight. This is done. Now, a little bit of alignment here when it comes to just getting everything center lined and everything, just a touch. But let's quince that off and take a look. There's our piece right there. This is a front bottle opener. Slips over the top of the bottle and opens up just like that. Boom. 2 down, 1 to go. Okay. Okay, we're taking our piece of 12 1/4 inch stock here. 12 1/4, 3/8 round. Drawing double pointed tapers. We're going to do it as fast as we can. You've already seen the tapers once. We're going to draw each taper in 1 heat. So while that's heating up, we have taken and made a steak turner and a bottle opener. And all of these build upon each other. Every last one of them builds upon basic blacksmithing technique. Drawing down and out, tapered points, scroll work, a wrap, twisting, everything you need to know to make pretty elegant little trinkets. And each one can be hung on the next piece. Perfect little barbecue set where you have your turner, your steak turner, or your meat turner. You can turn ribs with it too. I've done it. You have your favorite beverage opener, all hanging on the hook you made right next to your cooking station. This is a double hook. Really draw these points out. You're really going to need to draw them out. Because we need to do some tiny scroll work on it. Boom. Okay. Flip it around. Back in the fire. Now we're also going to, I'll talk and go over before we end the live show today, of the tools that you, or types of tools that you can use to, if you don't have a pair of tongs, you can use a pair of pliers, type of deal. If you don't have scrolling tongs or like I don't have any made right now, use needle nose pliers to do the job, which is what we're going to be using. And I have a couple different types of needle nose over here that I'll show you. Go down to Harbor Freight, buy you a cross peen hammer, a rounding engineer's hammer, and a small ball peen. You can also get those long vice grips. This is going to feel weird when you're doing this with tongs that don't stay tight. It's going to be a struggle at first. Do not worry about trying to duplicate what I'm doing here. I have failed more often than you have tried. Okay, so now we got both our points, 1 point, 2 point, tapered, blended. Now we're going to take and bend it. We're going to make a bobby pin, one side shorter than the other, all right? You don't need to measure this. Just because if you do end up making them the same height, before you close, I'll actually do it that way. If I make both points touch, I will show you how to make one shorter. So if you don't know what a bobby pin is, Google it. Now remember we did a wrap on the bottle opener. After we get this into a bobby pin, we're going to do a messy square after we close it down. And we're going to do a twist. We're going to be twisting two pieces together to make our twist. But there's a few other things that go in there, but we'll talk about that as soon as we get to that stage. Now, the easiest way on something short like this to start your bend is you stick it in your Pritchel hole or your Hardy hole. All right? The Pritchel on the drifting hole, it's still a Pritchel, is the round. On the Hercules, my Hardy is right here, and my Pritchel is on the last corner, bit of the corner of the heel of your anvil. Now, if you were here in person, we would have gone through anatomy of an anvil, anatomy of a forge, anatomy of the tools, what each tool does, what each hammer does. You'd have to name off hammers and stuff like that. And so when I say, hey, grab that straight peen, you'd know what hammer I'm talking about. Grab that ball peen, you know the hammer. Grab the flatter, type of deal. All right. Grab the wolf jaws. You know what they were. So we're going to stick this in our Hardy. Boom. And we're going to bend it over just like that. And we're going to come back. We're going to hammer down. Now, oh no, we're really close to the end on them. Okay, make sure, grab your piece. Make sure everything's even. You're going to come in here. You're going to grab both tails at the same time. See that? Both tails. You're going to then hammer down on the loop. And you're going to close it all the way down. Making sure that everything stays in alignment. One is still not as short as possibly I might want it to be, but it is shorter than the other one. See? Okay. Now you're going to drop 3/4 of an inch off the end of your giant bobby pin. And you're going to square up about 2.5 inches of steel in here for your twist. Just a messy square. You're just basically flat spotting it. Remember, it's 3/4 of an inch, give or take. You need, at the very least, a 1/2 inch button on there. At the very least. No more than 3/4. Now, you can make these hooks as big as you want. You can use 1-inch stock and do this stuff with it, which I think would be pretty cool. But, the technique doesn't change just because the steel gets bigger and heavier. It's all the same stuff. Your tools may get bigger, but it's still drawing down and out, putting a round taper on something. Now, you can start with square stock. You can round up what you don't want square. You can start with round stock and square up what you don't want round. Whatever you find is easiest, it doesn't matter. The true thing on this is just getting out there and doing it. Okay? I'm going to come over here on the end. I'm going to drop 5/8 to 1/4 inch. Boom. Flat spot. Flat spot. Flat spot. Okay. I've now flat spotted everything. Next heat, we're going to put the button in, the connector in, where it's going to have a screw put through it to connect to your wall or your post or whatever it is. We're going to put that in the vise. correction. We're not putting that in the vise. What we're doing is putting the tines in the vise. My bad. We're putting the tines in the vise right up to where our last little bit of flat spot is. Then we're going to take, in this instance, what I'm going to use is a monkey wrench that's been turned into a twisting wrench. You can use, actually, no, we're not going to use that. We're going to use something that everybody has. A crescent wrench, an adjustable wrench. All right? That's what we're going to use to do our twist. Everybody has one of those, at least in some form or another. You could use a pipe wrench if you wanted to. If that's all you had, you could use it. Oh, dropped it. That's okay. We'll be fine. All right, you put your short tine in first. It's going to be the one that wants to untwist, to jump out on you. Clench that down. Come in. Put your piece. Size your wrench to your piece. And twist. You can go as much as you want. I'm going to go probably 2 full rotations and stop, make a nice tight twist, stop in the same plane that I was on. Now, we ended up with we took 3/4, ended up with a half inch. That is perfect. That is perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, there's our piece like that. Let's come back over here. Okay, you're gonna look at your piece and you're gonna determine which side you want to be the wall side. And how I do that is I like, this is all pretty even actually, but on one that's not, it'll tell you which side is going to be flatter than the other. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your rawhide mallet, your wood mallet, a piece of wood, probably not a leather mallet, and we're going to flat spot that wall side. I'm going to grab a piece of wood. I don't think my leather mallet has enough oomph to it to do the job. So let me drop this camera down here. Boom, so we can see that. I'm gonna go grab me a piece of wood up here. And it can be anything. We get a tree limb, anything. Doesn't have to be something of, super weight, but you got to be able to swing it in a manner that will flat spot that back side. I'm going to use an old piece of hickory here, an old handle that was laying around, and we're going to use that to flat spot. And you want this hot. Because you don't want to deform your twist that you just did. You want the twists to be round, pretty. You want that backside to sit flat against the wall. So this is why we're flat spotting it. And you just hit it. The backside will be flat. You won't deform the top piece. Okay, you can't, well, you might be able to see it. There's a slight flat spot in there. It's probably too bright right now. But that will sit nice and flush. We're going to heat this back up, and we're going to forge in a bowl putting in it. And you're going to turn it up. Don't need to hit it super hard. And you use the ball side to countersink for your screw head. You don't need it super hot, but it does help. Okay, so what you're going to do, you're going to bring it out, you're going to place it wall side down, and you're going to walk the hammer in there till you feel it set. It'll seat itself. Hit it, readjust, get it seated again, hit it. Don't just sit there and hit it and don't readjust. It's hit, adjust, reseat it, hit, adjust, reseat it, hit until you have the desired countersink bowl in there. Now you could then punch your hole or drill your hole. It's whatever. It doesn't need to be showing. I kind of like punching them, but drilling them when you're doing a lot of these, it's just easy to drill them because then you can center punch right in the middle, drill a nice hole in there, and be done. Okay, so I'm going to take this. I'm going to find my seat. Readjust, find it again. Readjust. It may fly everywhere. It may not. It may fall down. You just continue to work that as it cools. Readjust it. Okay. You may or may not be able to see that. There's your countersink hole. Okay. Now we're on to making our hooks. First thing you're going to do, we're going to spread these out. So you find a corner when they get hot, and you're just going to tap it in until it spreads out. Or you can find a piece of metal. You can take a piece of some pliers. I'm probably going to take some needle nose pliers. So I'm going to be using them anyways to put my scrolls in. And you can, if you want more hammer technique, more hammer control, actually, we're not going to use them to put our scrolls in. We'll open it up. But we're going to put scrolls in with our hammer. Since this is a hammer technique class. Now you want this heated up, and you want to open it up like a fork. Once again, does not matter alignment at this point in time. We will align it later. The main objective is just to get your scrolls in. So we have our wall side, and now it's really easy to tell which side's wall side, which way's pointed out, because you have a countersink up there on the button where the screw goes. Kind of hard to put that on if it's facing the wall. So that's always got to be facing out. But we need to scroll these. So we're going to have everything facing up and scroll away from us. We're going to put our curly cue on the end of our hook away from us. That'll make sense here in a minute. We're going to use our little ball peen here to do this work. But if you don't have one, you can use the big hammer too. It can be done. It's just easier with a smaller hammer. But we need to split these apart first. Now, if you have a cutoff, a hot cut hardy that fits in your hardy hole, it's really easy to do. If you don't, find a piece of metal that's relatively thin that you can fit down in between your piece, and a good piece like that would be an old lawnmower blade that you're going to turn into a knife at some point, right? We're going to use it to split our piece. So we're going to stick this in there, and we're just going to walk it apart. We're just going to spin it apart, just like that. Boom. Now we're going to have it face up, and I'm going to scroll away from me. All right? I'm going to come in here. I don't care what the alignment is right now. It doesn't matter, because I can twist these to fit anything I want, to fit any alignment I want. You just want to make your nice little curly cue there. Get a little bit more heat in it. If you need to, straighten out one of these tines. I'm going to put it back in there for just a touch more heat. Scroll away from you. Flip it over. Walk it onto itself. So you're basically rolling it up. It's the same technique used for making a snail shell scroll or a series. So when you roll something up on itself, it's a series of closed scrolls. Because a closed scroll is one that touches. The bottle opener is an open scroll. The handle on our steak turner is a closed scroll. Once again, button facing up, walk it away from you, flip it over, and walk it right up on top of each other, or of itself. Now the idea is to try and make them as close to identical as possible. They're really close. Don't care what they look like. Don't care that they're off. Makes no difference to me right now. Because what I'm going to do next is we're going to come over here and we're going to start making we'll probably do it over the edge of the anvil. But remember when you started with that last heat with the button facing up, wall side down against the anvil, right? So now what you're doing, you're going to go wall side up and you're going to scroll away from you. So you have a closed or open scroll for your little thing on your little finial on the end. Could be touching, could be not. Now you're going to do, so if you want to think of it this way to making a hook, it's a shaft into an open scroll with a reverse open scroll, right? Or, depending on what you like, if you like the point touching the shaft, it's a shaft with an open scroll into a reverse closed scroll. We want a good amount of heat into this. Now, if you have a bending hardy or scrolling tongs, sweet. Or large needle nose pliers, outstanding. Now, once again, this anvil is the horn on this is a little wide and flat. I'm going to be building a bick for this that fits in the Hardy that has a very tapered horn on it, so I can do these much easier with the bigger anvil. But all I have to do is just get that going, and then I can fix it with my hammer. So you don't need to do the full scroll over your horn. Just get it bent. Just get it going. And I'll adjust it as I need it. I'm not worried about anything at this point. There's that one. Scroll towards, you're scrolling away from the wall, back to the wall. So start the scroll with your countersink down, wall side facing up. End your scroll with wall side down, countersink up. Okay, we're going to start this. Like I said, doesn't matter. I'll be able to fix it. Now, if you don't have a good bite on your horn, you can come in here over your edge of your anvil, just like we did on our finials, and you just play around with it here until you have that desired look. Now, it's all misshapen and looks like trash. That's okay. This is where your needle nose pliers comes into play. So you're going to have it back in the forge, heat it back up, and now it's all about alignment. Now I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to line everything. Make sure everything lines up good. I'm going to take and push out that tine right there. Push out that hook right there. Now I definitely want them to be wider apart. You know, so I can come in here with my tongue, I can widen them apart. Making sure to check it on the flat side, hold it down against the anvil. I'm going to need to put more heat in there. So you see how that looks right there? I'm not a big fan of that hook coming out like that. So I don't mind them coming this way, but if they're going to go this way, they need to come back and come straight back over the top. Personal preference. And if, like, I would use the horn over here on a smaller anvil. I don't feel like moving the camera right now, so we're not going to do that. We're just going to play around with it, using what we have available to us. Now, this is an 8-hour class when you take it in person, because there's a crap ton more information that you learn. Plus, there's a 3-hour free forge period to where you use these techniques that you were taught to make anything you want. And I sit there, I'm just a sounding board at that moment in time. You want to make a knife? That's on you. That's on you. You make a knife. I'll be there to answer questions, but I'm not going to show you how to do it because it's all the same technique. You know what a knife looks like. Use the techniques that you were showing to make a knife. If that's what you choose to do. If you choose just to make more hooks, okay, make more hooks. Okay, so I want this to go out. So I'm going to put it on its side, and I'm going to hammer down. I'm going to hammer out and down on this tine, and I might change my bite of my tongs so I can lift while I'm hammering. That looks really good. I like that. Okay, same thing. I want to kind of close this down, but I want to take it out. The hook needs to go out a little more. So I'm lifting on my tongs. I want to close this hook down a little bit. It's a little far out there, but I don't want to take out my twist. So you got to be careful when you're hammering on this that it doesn't take out your twist like mine just did. That's okay though. Using different parts of the anvil to spread my piece out. You guys can't even see what I'm doing. I will go back over what I just did. But I'm taking and spreading this back out while it's somewhat cold. So what I was doing there, when you couldn't see, is I was grabbing it on the button side like that and hammering down and lifting on the tongs to get the desired effect that I want. I can also come back in here while it's slightly cold and hammer down on my finial to walk it on itself, which makes it a much rounder belly on the hook. I'm going to check. Don't mind that at all. Not the best hook I've done, but I'm just using the same stuff that you guys would use because that's what you have available to you. But that is a double hook. Not the prettiest. But if I was going to do it, I'd heat it back up and I would actually stick it over the horn like this. I might be able to do it with this one. This is the only thing I don't like about this anvil is the horn's a little awkward. But there is a double hook that you can hang your bottle opener on and your steak turner. And that's it. That is the forging portion of Intro to Blacksmithing. And like I said, there's a lot of other crap that goes on in this class. A lot of information that gets thrown at you during the class. You basically are being taught at a pace that I would teach an apprentice over years of instruction in 8 hours. So is it the best hook I've done? No, it's not. But it is a functional hook that'll sit against the wall, that will hold your pieces, and you can easily do this with any size stock you have available to you. All you have is square stock and you want it round, make it round. You have half-inch square, you want quarter-inch square, or you want quarter-inch round, make it round. Draw it down. It's just how much hammering do you want to do type of deal. These are really cool gifts, really cool things to have around the house. They're good conversation pieces. It's a way. Now here's that twist. See if I can show you that twist here. See if you can see it. Very, very subtle twist in there. This is the snake tail wrap. And then here is the double strand twist into a double hook. There's the countersink that we did. We'll drill a hole right there at the top of that, the opening there for the screw to go through. And there you go. It's really very simple. I mean, when you take a class from me, you're going to leave with lots of stuff, with these 3 items plus whatever you decided to forge. If you decide to make a bunch of hooks because you enjoy making hooks during your free forge, make hooks. Build upon that. If you want to make another set of what you just built to get better at them, do it. You have 3 hours to do whatever you want. 3 hours. So it's an 8-hour class. So it's 5 hours of me instructing you and 3 hours of you doing whatever you want. With me there as a sounding board, question and answer type deal. And I might be actually working on something of my own, at that time, or I might be sitting back smoking my pipe or smoking a cigar, having a beer, watching you work, having fun, enjoying you watching you work. But you're gonna leave with knowledge, know-how, and cool shit to show people what you made. So hopefully, those of you that are already out there smithing everything can use this video as a way to get better at what you're already doing. Or hopefully maybe it influences you to come and take an in-person class from me here in Walla Walla at Rusty Hammer Forge. And, I usually have the fact of the matter is that um, a lot of people are Forged in Fire fans, right? And I usually have one or two Forged in Fire champions drop into the shop while I have classes going on. So not only do you get, to go have fun and have instruction, but you may have a David Roeder or Mike Rowley pop in, or um, a Mike Pierce who is a contestant on the show pop in just to say hi, you know. Um, and if you are a fan, you get to meet them. So there you go. If you want to be a bladesmith, you get to meet guys that do it at the highest level possible and who have done it and won big time competition, you know. So that is kind of what you get from Rusty Hammer Forge. You get access to, um, people that are really good at what you want to do, unless you want to be a blacksmith, and then your access to me. And I don't know everything, but there's a lot of information I can teach you. I like blacksmithing. I bladesmith because that's what people want. Um, I prefer to make tools, and tongs and hammers and all kinds of stuff. But I still have fun doing knives and stuff like that. Knives are easy; they sell themselves. Um, but what you got to remember is an intro class should teach you hammer technique, hammer control, and then you build upon that as you continue smithing, right? Um, I won't do it for you unless unless you're young and need help holding tongs, or swinging a hammer. I'll do that, but you're still going to do it. I've taught 7 and 8 year olds, and it's you know it's a task. It's not as easy. I've also taught adults that I've had to say, no, sit down, relax, chill out. You're going to hurt yourself or me doing what you're doing, type of deal. That's the only time I take the hammer away from you. If there is something it's easier to show you, especially like during your free forge period, I may ask, hey, do you mind if I show you this really quick? I just won't walk up and take it from you. That is your time. This is your class. You're paying me to teach you, and I don't believe that me doing it for you teaches you anything. So, what you have to understand also, don't get caught up in, well, it doesn't look like yours. It shouldn't. If it does, why the hell are you taking my class? You should be teaching the class if yours looks just like mine. You know what I'm saying? So, don't get caught up in that. If we're taking a bladesmithing class and it might be your first knife you're doing, it's not going to look like mine. Just like yours aren't going to look like mine. They're going to look just like what they are. A first timer did it, and they should. Because then you keep them, you hold on to them, you put them up, and you make them again. They get better. You make them again, and it gets better. No matter what you're doing, build upon the mistakes you made previous, and just try not to make those same mistakes again. Right? So, all right, everybody. thanks for showing up. Thanks for those that are going to watch this later on. Truly, truly appreciate you. Like I said, we have fire sale going on right now. We're going to open that up to as many spots as your little heart desires. And it was 5 per person. I don't really care anymore. I want it done and over with. But we're not going to um, spin the wheel just with the amount of names we have. So it's open right now at rustyhammerforge.com, fire sale tab. Take a look at that. Take a look at the live broadcast schedule. This was kind of an impromptu thing today. I was supposed to teach a class, but student was a no-show. So I decided why not? Let's just do a live show, a little impromptu this morning also with the spoon we did. But get on to rustyhammerforge.com. We do have some things on the in the store right now. I'm running a little low of inventory. I'm going to be start getting back my inventory that I would normally have for, let's say, like show season when we're out and about. Usually have about 60 or 70 items made up for those. We're going to start doing that for the online store. So that'll get filled up with all kinds of stuff. Um, so we have the fire sale, like I said, going on. Also, we have Patreon. If you'd like to be a patron of mine, you can do it for as little as $1 a month. We have 3 different tiers. We have $1, which is basically just, hey, you get whatever content I put on there. $5, you get of a super thick, heavy duty vinyl sticker for Rusty Hammer Forge. It's my logo and name on it. And then for $10 a month, after 12 months, you get a Rusty Hammer Forge 3-inch everyday carry that I only make that pattern uh, for Patreon. So take a look at that. That's search Rusty Hammer Forge on Patreon, rustyhammerforge.com. Look at all the tabs. We have lots of good information on there. And I'm also on Instagram at rusty_hammer_forge. And we're going to start doing some short reels and everything on there as well. And I use those as billboards and stuff like that. I'm not on Facebook anymore. I got rid of it. I feel so much better not being on it. Um, I love not knowing everybody's most intimate secrets. That's always fun. So once again, stay safe, be well, and forge on.